Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video. And yes, I'm back at Iconic Auctioneers because this weekend is their Supercar Fest sale, which is in Sywell near Northampton. And yeah, we've picked a great day for it. It is chucking down with rain, unfortunately. This is setup day. This is Thursday. Tomorrow is viewing day. That's the 17th of May. And Saturday, the 18th of May, is when it all happens, when the sale starts. And my goodness, there's some cars in this sale. And there's also a whole load of number plates which I'm going to kick off with. And this sale is on the Saturday, 10 o'clock it starts. And it's Ferrari Northern Europe are selling off all their sort of press car number plates. There's 25 in all. It's all for charity. But if you own a V12 Ferrari or F1, F8 Tributo, and I think the most famous one is the 458 FNE, which was on all the press car, Ferrari's press car in the UK, those number plates are all going to be sold, and that kicks off, as I say, 10 a.m. the Automobile sale at Iconic Auctioneers on the Saturday. But we're here to see some of the crazy cars here, and the first one I want to show you is this Range Rover. Now this started life as a 1971 stuff. It's a Range Rover, so you can tell it's an early one because it's got the wing mirrors right at the front of the bonnet. And then you think, hang on a minute, this does not look normal at all, and it's not normal. And I know the guy who did this, Chris Bishop 4x4, who do a lot of work with Range Rovers, and he said one day, I wonder if I could get an Aston Martin V12 into an early Range Rover. And this is it. Mad as they come. If I just lift the bonnet on this thing, oh, there you go. It was quite a squeeze to get that Aston V12 in there. 420 horsepower. And it's right into the bulkhead. Enormous amount of engineering. It gave them proper headaches. And I can't quite believe he's selling it, but he is. It was done in 2016. It has the Aston Martin gearbox in it as well. It's got a trick dash on it where in normal mode, it has a digital dash that looks like the Iconic, the early classic Range Rover. And then you press Sport and it changes to an Aston Martin dashboard. Quite mad. The back, the giveaway, there's an Aston Martin badge at the back, and I notice on here it says Aston Martin Owners Club, so you can be a part of the Aston Martin Owners Club with this Range Rover. And it's for sale with no reserve, and it's guided at 30 to 40,000 pounds, which is a fraction of what Chris spent making this car work. Quite a crazy thing. As is this Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera. Now this car has had a life, to say the least. I'm almost tempted not to feature it, but I don't think it's so mad that I have to do it. Superleggera is a rare Gallardo. They stripped a lot of weight out of it. It has the bucket seats, etc. This one, oh my goodness. I think it was originally German. It's left-hand drive, but they modded it from the early part of its life, and they put twin turbos in it. And they turned around and then it blew up. And I said, oh dear, that's unfortunate. They then swapped the engine out and put the later engine in it and converted it to a manual gearbox and put a roll cage in it. And it's normally aspirated now with this mad body kit on it, this wider arch on it, which is done by Harman Motorsport. 14,000 miles. Can't say I can recommend it. It's not like a pristine example, but I bet it's quite something to drive. 68 to 75,000 pounds. Anyway, there's loads of cars to feature here. Let's go have a look at another tent. Now I wanted to show you this Ford Sapphire Cosworth 4x4. So they went rallying with this. I mean, the Sierra Cosworth, there are a number here, but this is a particular favourite. This is an original press car from 1990. And I must have read about this in Fast Lane and Car Magazine. And the guy who owns it and selling it has owned it since 95. It's 78,000 miles. But I love these. There was such a usable car, you know, 4 doors, but it had this hint of rally by being 4x4. There is another one in the sale. It's the 2-wheel drive, rear drive one over there. I can see it, lower mileage. But because this has got 78,000 miles on it, but it looks beautiful condition to me. Recaro seats look great on it. It's guided at 30 to 35,000 pounds. We go over here where you can see where these homologation specials went next, and Subaru then dominated. Now we come to the Subaru Impreza P1. So this is 2001. So another 10 years development, and the Subaru were really dominating. So the two-door version, the P1, breathed on by ProDrive. Two examples in this sale, a low mileage one, and then this one at 75,000 miles and guided at 50 to 60,000 pounds. Interesting here, another homologation back to Ford, and this is obviously the Ford Focus RS, but this time the RS 500 version. It says this one has got a bit of Mount Tune upgrades on it, 7,000 miles, guided at 65 to 85,000 pounds. My goodness, they're getting expensive, these RS 500s, but there is the demand. People just love their fast Fords. This is a bit mad as well. I wanted to show you this. Abarth of 695 Biposto with dog ring gearbox, whichever that is. If I peer through the window, I've never seen such a thing. It looks like a sequential change for the gearbox. Apparently it's an £8,500 option in crazy colours as well. 16,000 miles, guided at 22 to 28,000 pounds. What a thing. Have to show you this Lancia Fulvia Sport Zagato, as I term them. This is quite an early one. This is 1969, so earlier than I have, and it is the Series 1. And this was made before Fiat took over Lancia, and it has some real tweaks, has some interesting features on it, shall we say, that are quite different to my little Zagato. One that's got a little hatch at the back so you can drag out the spare tyre from the boot. You don't actually have to open the rear. It's got a lovely interior in it. It's all been retrimmed. It's very rare in right-hand drive. It also has nice aluminium features on it. It's aluminium doors and panels and an aluminium bonnet. And there's a big surprise when you go to open the bonnet. It confuses everyone because the bonnet on this car opens that way, and there exposes the nice little 1.3 V4 engine this car comes with. This one has only done 49,000 miles from new, beautifully restored, all original, 35 to 40,000 pounds, which isn't too bad because most of them are being converted to race cars, and it's just lovely to see one in this sort of condition. A couple of interesting Porsche turbos here. First of all, a 997 turbo cabriolet. I'm mentioning this one because it has the most extraordinary interior. I've never seen someone tick the wood option on their Porsche 997, but this one has it, and it's quite an interesting look, shall we say. Well worth looking up on the website. It's 20,000 miles and guided 55 to 65,000 pounds. Or you have this Porsche 930, except it is not a Porsche 930 turbo from 1987. This is the Super Sport. So this is a regular Carrera, but with all the look of the turbo. It was a special wishes option, but then they did one or two for the UK market, and this is one of them. It has been enjoyed, 107,000 miles, and it's, I'll just see if it says, one of 34 Super Sport coupes supplied to the UK right-hand drive and guided at 75 to 85,000 pounds. It's remarkable that this 1987 Porsche is actually worth 20,000 pounds more on the guide than that 2007 Porsche Turbo we're looking at earlier. I can't believe it, but they found another ultra low mileage Ford Focus RS, 2003, 3,200 miles from new, this example, 40 to 50,000 pounds. Which these people, they buy these cars and they just don't do anything. This one is lovely though. This is an earlier, the Ford Escort RS 2000, a dream car when I was 17 to have one of these. This is 1980, this was. Lovely colour, one of their crazy colours that Ford used to do in this period. Beautifully restored. It's only 2 owners from new and well known, they say, within the RS Owners Club, and it's got the fishnet Recaro seats in it, which was so distinctive when you saw it. The idea of this was the extra lights and make it slightly more streamlined than your regular Escort. And even though this is the best example I've seen, I suppose the higher mileage helps the value of it if you're a buyer. 35 to 40,000 pounds. Just lovely. So an iconic Ford. Now, some really nice Nissan Skylines in this sale. A couple of R33s. I have to show you this one in this midnight purple. An iconic colour for Skylines and well worth sorting out. And this one is only 12,000 miles from new. Looks amazing. It's had a retrimmed interior to sort of echo the sort of purpleness of white and purple seats in it. Looks beautiful. 26 years ownership, that is amazing. Guided at 70 to 90,000 pounds. But my goodness, they are really on the rise, and now you can send them to the USA as well. There's a world market for these R33s. This one, very different. Yeah, white, has the standard interior in it as well. More miles, 106,000 miles, but looks pretty good on body wise. It's had a number of modifications done in period, but guided up nearly half the price, 40 to 45,000 pounds for that one. So many cars, and the rain is getting heavier, unfortunately. Have to feature this. This is a Tommy Mackinnon edition Evo, and what gets me, this is a UK car, and it's come from 20 years of ownership, who have improved, shall we say, it over the period, but it's only done 2,500 miles in the last 20 years, and total mileage is 17,500 miles in total. Looks lovely condition. A shame, I don't know if it's got the standard wheels also with it or not, but this is chassis number 119 and guided at 50 to 60,000 pounds, but they are getting highly collectible now. You go Audi Quattro, original Audi Quattro, a 10 valve version. I quite like the 10 valve version because it sings more. The 20 valve got the catalyst and that sort of killed the sound, but the warble was the 10 valve version, and this is one of those. And amazing, one previous registered keeper and 49,960 miles. They obviously don't want to go over 50,000 miles with it. Nice one, 50 to 60,000 pounds for that one. Then the Jensen Interceptor. I really like the look of this one. It looks super clean, and I can't get over, this is 1970. You wouldn't guess this car is 54 years old. Looks absolutely lovely. And the owner who is selling this car actually bought it, searched for a good one, because he was then going to do the Corvette engine conversion and do a whole load of things to it. And then there was one in Iconic Auctioneers, the NEC sale, and he says, hang on a minute, this car's too good. So it's back on the market, having recently bought it. I've just checked, it's about 84,000 miles recorded and guided at 40 to 50,000 pounds for a very good looking Jensen Interceptor. It seems reasonable value to me, and in pretty good colours. A black leather interior, looks unmarked. There's a lovely M3 I want to show you, E36. I'm afraid the weather, I'm going to dash through. I think this M3 ticks a lot of boxes. First of all, E36, and they did this Evo version right at the end and gave it higher compression and more horsepower. So it goes to 286 to 321 horsepower with this. You also got this deeper front air dam here as well, and this one in its techno violet colour is just fantastic. Really good interior and manual gearbox on it. It's done 60,000 miles from new. I think they said it was two owners, full BMW services from new, and guided at 25 to 30,000 pounds. I would have thought that would fetch that all day long. Spoilt for choice in here. I don't know which cars to feature, but if you're after a low mileage P1, there's 15,000 mile P1 there, and it's guided appropriately at 70 to 80,000 pounds. One of four Mitsubishi Evo, which is I think it's called the RS 450. And the 450 is not horsepower, it's actually its torque figure. Lovely condition again, and yeah, that one is at 60 to 70,000 pounds for that, 99, that one. Interesting car here, a TR2, owned by an individual, 56 years he's owned this, beautifully maintained. He has a Morgan in this sale as well, and I can't get over these cars because they are the easiest entry into Mille Miglia. If you're missing a trick, if you don't go for this, 1955, absolutely on the button. I think it's guided at 25 to 30,000 pounds. But if you're looking at doing Mille Miglia, you can't go much wrong getting one of those. But this is an interesting car. This Alfa Romeo GTV 2000, coming from Japan, and then had quite a lot of work done on it, and I think he went through Alphaholics and said, well, that looks nice, and wheels and bodywork and the suspension parts in it, and the engine's been dressed. It's recently been on the dyno, 130 horsepower, so not crazy tweak, but just lovely, and especially so in this colour. So this is a recent Alfa Romeo colour, and they put in it on the Quattrofolio GTA, and it's called Rosso Etna, and it looks absolutely spectacular, this, and debumpered as well. It says odometer reading 18,000 miles. I can't believe it's that, but it's got original interior in it, and it's guided at 40 to 45,000 pounds, but so pretty. Now, there's a couple of really nice TVRs in this sale, and this is one of them. This TVR T350, and I have a bit of a soft spot for this. This is the original show car from 2002, and it was then registered to Peter Wheeler. I went down to the south of France in one of these cars and just loved every minute of it. It's sort of tight and personal and quite quick and has quirky details inside, and I think it was TVR at its best. This one, well, it's had an engine rebuild. What's interesting I hear on this, when we had the press cars from TVR, they always went really well. And then we drove a customer car, it didn't go quite as well as the press car. And it's interesting here, this is T350, which was meant to have a 3.5 litre engine. It turns out it had a 4 litre engine from start. Who would have guessed at TVR doing such a thing? But yeah, this one has then been rebuilt. I noticed this engine. This car has done 82,000 miles, so been used and enjoyed, but it had a full engine rebuild at 56,000 miles. So it's fitted with a Res Roads 4 litre engine and guided at 30 to 35,000 pounds, which I think is pretty good for car number one, T350, and owned by Peter Wheeler. Wanted to show you this one, 1980 Lotus Esprit S2.2, so the S2 version, not the turbo version. Giario design, obviously, and the glorious interior. They did some crazy stuff at Lotus in the 80s, and I always loved the look of these. And they're simpler and they're lighter, and they go okay, and it's a Revy engine, 2.2 litre, obviously twin cam in the back. It has the glass back rather than the louvered rear panel that you'd get on the turbo version. And I think it looks great in yellow, and also they're much cheaper than the turbo version, but drive equally as well. 41,000 miles from new. Can you believe it? 40 years long-term ownership with this car, and guided at 25 to 30,000 pounds. Just lovely. What about this though? Oh my goodness. BMW CSL Batmobile, so 1973 3.5 litre version. This has been converted into this spec, into this race car. I think it started as a road car, but it's got great history and a classic Le Mans as well, and it's fully FIA papered, this car, all the way through to December 27, which is what you need to look for race car. And it wins, this car. It's got a number of championships. The guy has moved to, I think, South America, and is now selling his collection of race cars. Just lovely, guided because it's got so much potential at 160 to 180,000 pounds. But my goodness, wouldn't you just love to see that at Classic Le Mans again next year? Now I have to show you this one, this Audi R8 2009, and it's the V8 version, and it's the manual gearbox, and it's only 7,500 miles from new. Great service history on it, serviced about 500 miles ago. As you'd guess, looking at it, it looks super tidy, but my goodness, that is a bit of a find. And it's in the right colours, so that's ice silver, black interior, and it's got the carbon blade. Because of its low mileage and its condition, you won't be surprised to hear the guide is quite high at 55 to 65,000 pounds. But yeah, absolutely pristine example. This is just an interesting car. I'll briefly mention it. So this is basically a Ferrari Daytona that Pininfarina redesigned as a 2+2, and they recently got a wind tunnel and they get a more streamlined look. They're not everyone's cup of tea. People want the Daytona for the classic look, but yeah, this is a more usable because it's got the rear seats, and it's 40 years with the previous keeper, 56,000 miles, guided at 190 to 210,000 pounds, which is significantly less than you would pay for a Ferrari Daytona. But two cars I want to mention in here. These two Aston Martin Virage, was a third one as a wide body there, but it's in particular these two Virages. I saw the description of these in the catalogue. I thought, what's the story of this? Basically, the original owner of these cars, they're both, I think, 1990, yes, 1990 Aston Martin Virage. near identical, owned by a gentleman who lived in Paris. And during the pandemic, they were in an underground car store, and it partially flooded. And they both drive. I've looked inside. There's no crazy damp smell or anything like that. They both drive here, no issues, and they look fairly pristine. But he sent them to Aston Martin Works to be checked over, etc. And while they were going through, and it all takes time at Aston Martin Works, the gentleman sadly died. And they've been sat at Aston Martin Works for a couple of years, well, probate and everything was sorted out, and now they're in this sale, and they're guided, well, they're both no reserve and guided at 15 to 20,000 pounds. And the mileage on this one, I think, is 8,500 miles, and that one's 4,500 miles. Almost new Aston Martin Virages project there. That one's missing an airbag, it's the only thing I can see, but that one looks absolutely perfect, that one. And this Virage, yeah, this is a wide body, 5.3, completely different, 30,000 miles, convertible, and 55 to 65,000 pounds. But the real stars of this show are hiding in a building over there where the rostrum is. So we're going to dive in there, and I'll just show you around the final few cars in this sale. It's impossible to walk past an MG 6R4, and this one is a very special car because this is the World Rally car, Group B race car of Tony Pond that he raced at the Monte Carlo Rally in early 1986, and then the Portuguese Rally after that. And it's spectacular, this one, because it's in tarmac spec. So this is the ultimate spec of 6R4, 410 horsepower from its V6. And I actually saw this car in a previous life when I visited Williams F1 one time, and saw this car in their museum of the next door to the F1 cars. And Patrick Head said, yeah, it really winds up Frank Williams that I have this car, but we worked on it and it deserves a place in the Williams Museum. And here it is up for sale. And this has been owned for some time by one individual, but he's decided to put it on the market. As you'd expect, with such a piece of rally history, it's a lot of money. Estimate is 300 to 450,000 pounds. It's just had a rebuilt engine. And what's also interesting, there's a separate lot with this car, and that is for Austin Rover Limited. The company name, registered number, email address, plus 6R4 drawings. So if you want to own Austin Rover, this is your chance. Or you could just buy 6R4 and have the biggest piece of history I think Austin Rover ever did. There is an Audi V10, one of the late final editions, the GT version here, rear wheel drive, delivery mileage 112 miles and guided at 230 to 260,000 pounds. Gosh, there's some toys in here. There are two RS500 Sierra Cosworths and ultra low mileage. I think this one is 14,000 miles from new, and the white one over there, 13,000 miles from new. As you imagine, they're a lot of money, 140 to 160,000 pounds for this black one. Or Skyline R34, an ultimate spec, this one. So this is the V spec, as they termed it. It's got subtle tweaks on it. It's running around 550 horsepower, and yeah, what's it, 92,000 miles. Even so, these have become so collectible. They've gone, as I say, into the States as well. This is guided at 120 to 150,000 pounds. Why didn't I buy one when they were 30 or 40,000 pounds? There we are. Two more cars over here. Now, just a lovely Ferrari 308 GTB Vetrazino. So one of the early ones, fiberglass car, super sharp in this early iteration without the sort of spoilers, slightly smaller wheels and that thing. And in this spectacular colour, this verde, this green metallic, and a lovely sort of tan interior. Never seen one in this spec. I presume it's one of two finished in this colour, and yet it suits it so well. I had one of these, just a delight. It's the lightest version of 308 GTB, and it's also dry sumped as well. They then moved to steel, and then they got injection and 4 valves, all sort of thing. But the purity of these early ones, I think, is unbeatable. And this one, 78,000 miles from new, certified, classic certified, and guided at 150 to 180,000 pounds. And that's really down to that spectacular colour of it. But the final car I want to feature is this TVR. Now, I know this car really quite well, because I did, if I just grab this Evo magazine, I did a world exclusive first drive in this car to Le Mans. And it was the idea of this car was TVR were going to go racing at Le Mans, and they wanted to have a dedicated car. So Peter basically put a Tuscan into the wind tunnel, made this coupe version, added horsepower, added stiffness. There's carbon honeycomb all through this to give it a stiffer structure. There's this to make it quicker. I think they hoped for a 200-mile-an-hour top speed in it. Yeah, 200 plus mile an hour Tuscan R. It's now known as the 440R. But I just, yeah, to give you a sense of what this car was like, I'll do my final paragraph with this car. We were coming home from Le Mans, had a wonderful time there, and I'd been mucking about, going to the city centre and things, and then on the way home, you're trying to keep the speed down, impossible. Apparently, I'm doodling along at 110 miles an hour, I see, road's still empty, and then, oh dear, the 355 blast past. Right, there's only thing to do, drop into fourth, start to reel them in for a while, passenger Chris goes quiet. Ferrari seems to be really shifting. I'm into fifth and we're starting to close the gap. There's a bend approaching. I think he's about to start to lift. Yeah, he lifts. There's a flash of brake lights. No need to change down or lift in the Tuscan. Just throttle down, staying down as we eat him up through the fast left-hand sweeper and at 160 miles an hour. So that was my end experience with this Tuscan R. It was a spectacular car. And now it's all been restored and engine rebuilt to the full spec. When I drove it, it was a 4 litre 396 horsepower. I think it's 4.4 over 400 horsepower. Stunning piece of Tuscan and TVR history, and guided at 190 to 230,000 pounds, but I think worth it. And it's the one-off glorious colour and such a drivable car. I just can't help but not yet. 930 there, that Porsche 930, just 10,000 miles from new, 1989 G50 gearbox, 5-speed gearbox. So that also guided, I think it's over 200,000 pounds. There you go. There's a quick tour around this iconic auction that is happening this weekend. So the sale is on Saturday the 18th. Tomorrow, Friday 17th, there is viewing, so you can come down here and view. If you want to watch the sale, register for the sale, you have to go onto the Iconic Auction website and you can register the bid there. You can also watch everything that's happening here during the sale live on Iconic Auctioneers YouTube channel. So yeah, but you have to register the bid beforehand and see all the action. Remember those number plates from Ferrari Northern Europe going through, all for charity, 25 number plates, a whole load of automobilia over there. I can see helmets, Senna's helmets there, all sorts of things. All but will be on the website. So the sale, as I say, almost this weekend. I hope you enjoyed this tour around this sale though. Great cars to see. If you have enjoyed it, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.